Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of The Heart of the Equation. Today, we have a lovely guest, also from supply chain management, Viraj Mehta. Thank you very much for being with us. And I'm really looking forward to this conversation. We just had a very, very nice conversation before this call. So I'm so excited to share the insights of Viraj about supply chain, about professionals in this industry, and about leadership and growth. So, Viraj, tell us a bit about yourself.
Hey, Sarah. Thanks a lot for having me, first of all. And of course, we are missing Pragati and Isa. So also hi there to them.
Yeah.
And hello, everybody. So happy to be here, Sarah, and quite looking forward to the insightful conversation that we are going to have. You want me to have a few words about myself to start with? Yeah.
Yes, please. Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm Viraj Mehta. I always say myself as a kind of, I would say, a techno-commercial people leader and a mother of a teenage girl. So this always makes me complete who I am as a person here. Currently, I am working with DSM-Firmenich, so which is a leader in health, nutrition, and biosciences based here in Basel. I'm with DSM for last 7 years, heading global procurement. Prior to DSM, I was in GSK in London, and prior that I was associated with Sara back in Germany. So my career spans in life science industry in a various positions, supply chain, procurement, project management. So a lot of techno-commercial stuff over last 20 years. And educationally, I'm a pharmacist. I have done my regulatory affairs degree. So that's all actually run within me. And I'm a very diverse, I would say, a resourceful person. Originally, I come from India. Now, here in this part of the world, for more than half of my life, actually, feel very much, I would say, blessed to every opportunity that I have been given, also as a child and also when I moved here. I live in Basel here with my husband and a teenage daughter. Yeah, so I love reading, music, long walks. So that's in a nutshell about me.
Thank you. Yeah, that's quite interesting. You have a very diverse background. Something I'm very curious to know, and also in a lot of our listeners, because they are also in supply chain functions. A lot of people in procurement, sourcing, logistics, planning, those kind of jobs. What made you interested in this sector? Because your original background was in pharmacy, and you could do other things, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's a very classical question, and I always see supply chain. Basically, it's like a circulatory system in the body, right? So we don't see always that what blood is doing, but that's exactly what supply chain is doing. It's really end to end, whatever we bring value, and I find it very, very interesting. Of course, like most of us, being in a supply chain, procurement wasn't a very conscious decision to start with, because there is a one point in time we are given opportunity or a challenge. But from that point when I entered, I just loved it. This is because that I see that there is a huge impact of what we do and what we do not do as a supply chain professional. And this is what actually I like it a lot. So it's really about being, driven, being in a supply chain. Actually, we need to keep track of everything. It feels as if that what's going on in the world matters to us the most, right? I mean, currently, the geopolitical crisis and all. So I like it, absolutely. And it keeps younger. You always need to be on your toes. So I really like it. And I would love to be in this area, having this business impact in a multiple manner as possible.
Yeah, I can totally resonate with that, because it's a little bit, these doctors who work in operation, in ENA, emergency kind of stuff. Working in supply chain is the non-stop kind of job. Not that you as a person, you can't get rest, but it's the kind of function that always has to go on. The show must go on no matter what. So you always have to plan ahead. You always have to be very prepared. I think it takes a certain personalities to get excited about this. And at the same time, I also think, or at least from my network, I think it has a very high rate of burnout among people who probably were not the best fit for this industry. They came with a lot of excitement and they just couldn't keep up with the movement. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I think can't agree with you more to the very last part what you say, is because I have observed this myself, because this is a kind of the task work job that we do really is endless. There is never a moment of peace and rest within it, because there is never a perfect world which lets supply chain running. If there are no external issues, then there may be internal challenges we may be facing. And that's why I think resilience is very, very demanding. I would say the highest degree of resilience we need as a supply chain profession. That's one. Also, the pace of the changes that we face, the multitasking that we have to be, everything is important, right? So there is no second priority. Plus, also sometimes I see that the recognition of the value supply chain brings on table by business is not always where it should be. So this is also kind of the cycle which drives people who put heart and soul, of course, on our
Yeah.
hands inside. We see that, hey, are we even being noticed, as an example? So I think that also drives those frustration around, actually. And sometimes where I see, because I manage a very huge team of
Yeah.
more than 80, 90 colleagues across the globe and all, there are also very different level of expectations management towards the stakeholders, because for them, I think it is actually not imaginable what does it means to have issue of one Ukrainian drone hitting one fertilizer plant in Russia. What does it mean for my supply chain in Switzerland? That
Yeah.
only we knows what does it means. So I think a lot that is beneath. So resilience is supreme, and that's why I think a lot of supply chain professionals thinks enough is enough now. And that's why I say to myself, basically, to really stay in a best spirit is that I think we need to keep on developing proactive skills. I think we as a supply chain profession cannot be reactive to anything. It's too late then. We need
Yeah.
to be proactive. So somehow developing that skill for us to assess what's coming up, proper communication, assertiveness as well, show where actually the issues are rather than having escalation sometimes way too late. And that habit sometimes when somebody says, yeah, how is everything? And then said, well, everything is all right. Maybe that's wrong. Say,
Yeah.
guys, things may not be all right tomorrow. Yeah. So this is where I see these things.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, what you brought up, the topic of resilience, if someone asked me, I would say that first. And also, I've asked this question from other VPs and like high level supply chain managers. This is the first thing that comes up, that word resilience. Okay, one aspect of it is the resilient supply chains, the system, how the company, organization have designed this whole thing. Part of it is that, but also resilient supply chains need resilient people. And then this topic of resilience, I think there are also a lot of misunderstandings around it. Most people think it means that you just absorb everything as a human and show like you're made of iron and just I'm okay, I'm fine, and that's resilient. It's not
Hmm.
suppressing. It's a skill. It's, as you said, it has a lot to do with being proactive to stop the disasters from happening. A lot of skills on daily basis to manage high number of tasks, being able to prioritize, being able to manage relationships, I think it's also a lot of discernment to know like what are the
Yes.
patterns behind things, and really having a brain that can categorize things. I think that could be very helpful. And also it brings us, I think, to the topic I really wanted to bring. It's the topic of our conversation. You mentioned the meeting diet, reclaiming your authority and time, which is, I think, like if a person in whatever function in supply chain just learns this, they would be so much ahead. So
Yes.
let's start with that. What is your perspective around this? And we'll go deeper around this topic.
Yeah, sure. Look, I think let me comment a little bit on resilience to that point as well. That I think resilience starts with self-awareness. So I
Yeah.
think that's really so supreme. Sometimes we try to look the reasons and anchor of that externally, but I think it needs to really go internally. That's very, very important. And this is also, I think, quite a good bridge to a topic of this today's podcast, like meeting diet, reclaiming your authority and time is very closer to my heart, because at the end, I think down the line in this very busy world, hustle and bustle of everything, and also sometimes really in a race to prove that we deserves to be here. Yeah, we bring value. I think we have lost that fine distinction between what does it mean to manage something or being a leader. Yeah. So
Yeah.
what we really need to develop in an ecosystem that it can actually run. So what are those enablers? And for me, especially after COVID, where we all, the whole world, unfortunately had to go online, had to go digital, the number of meetings has been everything around. And more number of meeting in somebody's calendar, I mean, busier you are, then maybe hierarchical you are in the organization, as an example. And this is where I ask myself a question, that are we managing our calendar or are we being managed? And actually the answer is here that, hey, we need to manage our energy, and then depending on where we need to have our highest energy focus, we need to manage our time. And this is where it all starts, which I would definitely love to share my perspective on.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it, because also one of the key complaints I hear from especially the clients who are from supply chain fields is that, oh, I really want to move to this VP role. I really want to develop myself as a leader, but I don't have time. I am in so many meetings. I travel a lot. I have so much going on in the operational stuff that I do not have time to focus on my development. So this is the complaint. And then it becomes like a vicious cycle of, I don't have time for myself. So I stay in this sort of operational function that I have outgrown, and I stay in it because I can't get out of it. The hamster wheel. So yeah, this is really true. And when you work in an environment that a lot of things are handed over to you. If you're not selective, if you're not leading it, you will be basically a puppet of others. I think that's what can happen actually. So how do you start with this for someone who's just so overwhelmed and they don't know where to start with all of this sort of busy schedule? So where do you start with reclaiming your time?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think it's, of course, not very easy always, because we, as a human being, to any of us, saying no doesn't come natural, because we are per se collaborative. We want to do good. We want to do everything possible. And this is where it all actually starts. And that's why I think we need to start addressing this. And I can tell you how I address it. Of course, I wouldn't claim that I have been successful fully, but it has helped me massive. So what I would recommend here is that at least carve out certain times in the morning, afternoon, and later in the day for yourself. Just block your calendar. Basically, this is your focus time. That's really very, very important to have. Second important thing is have this mental note about what is good to have and what is actually must. Sometimes we forget that distinction. If something is must, it has to be done, it has to be on top. But simply because I think this is good or this is nice to do, so better prioritization of the actions. Learn this art of a strategic no. And this is very deeper, basically, because again, if we see about, right, that if we see that if we have a seat on table, then do I have to be on that chair in every meeting? No. So I think it is a very much entire ways of working that we need to create among ourselves, actually. So as a leader or somebody who is also as an individual contributor at the end. So really learn to say no in assertive, polite manner, where I, as an individual, if I do not add value, then there is no point in being there. So having 10, 15 people in a meeting is just a lack of trust. And we really need to get away from always, this is a culture of consensus and everything, because it's a teamwork, I understand. However, to truly address this, we need to get out of this trap of being seen, because we all want to be seen. We want to justify why we belong here versus being effective. And if we think that we need to be in every meeting, then I highly doubt that we are effective. So if you see the highly effective leaders, basically, they always filter where I should be present. So that's really a key. And this also comes basically by training yourself, but also training others around you. So really that fine distinction between being seen versus being effective. And at the end, this is all about empowerment. Let others take credit. Let others fail. Yeah? So I think sometimes also there is an underlying fear as a human being that if I'm not there, and what if my teammate would not bring the right solution on table? What if they fail? Or what if everybody will find a miracle and I was not there? So, yeah. So I think this is that urge for us to be part of every little thing.
Yeah,
So this is where I think I would start.
Yeah, this is actually a very good point you mentioned, because there are two things that are usually very important to people who want to grow. One is that visibility, but the strategic visibility, they mix it up with being in every meeting so people see I'm there. And then the other thing is just the influence, actually. Some people
Mm-hmm.
think just because they do not have the title, they should always be submissive to like higher level, or they should say yes. It's somehow comes, I think, from insecurities that we build up, and we think we have to please everyone. And then we end up actually in these cycles of just losing our time. So what do you think about that, actually? That's leadership skill, as someone who doesn't have like the big title, but needs to actually be assertive with higher level people, needs to be assertive with clients, for example, that you have to always, take care of them, be nice to them. What are
Yeah,
the
and I
keys?
think, look, yeah, absolutely. And this is a question or a dilemma we all have gone through, regardless where we are in our journey of life, because there would always be a situation where somebody else is senior, superior, higher than us, or lower than us, basically, right? So here, my views are that a lot of things starts from the top. And actually here, what is very important is that a culture, this is a, in ideal world, if this is possible there, that an organizational culture or me as a leader should actually foster a culture where I say, guys, you do what is right. But doesn't matter, we need to back who is right. And the moment we shift this from what is right versus who is right, we land in this kind of ways of working where we stop challenging our superiors. We do something that we think is going to please them, but then that may be not right for the situation. That may not be right for the organization, actually. So I think really having that safety culture set around that feel empowered to do what is right. So that's really one very important, that coming from the
Yeah.
leaders. And when we say that create a safe environment where everybody can feel a possibility to challenge others and the leaders, I think this is a supreme responsibility of a leader, basically, but also as an individual basis, because at the end we own our action. So
Yeah.
here, I think very important is that we still be assertive for what we think is the right thing to do. And that is a very inherent element of the growth as well. I think only people who can grow in a true manner if they have courage from inside.
Yeah, totally agree.
And this is totally, I would say, a very starting point, but it's not easy. I completely understand. And sometimes, and you have seen this as well yourself in a supply chain, in other corporate world, sometimes we know we are right, but then we just have to step back. So that's also a wisdom. Sometimes not keep on proving that you are right. I think wisdom or a right thing to do is to pull back. So step back to step forward. So I think it's an art, basically, but I would definitely say this, that yeah, doing the right thing regardless is definitely contagious. If one person is doing, rest will do as well. But not every business situation or even a personal life situation allows us to act. So sometimes waiting for the right time, but not too long. That's really one very important.
Yeah, interesting. One of my mentors early on in my career, he told me, choose your fight, choose your battle,
Exactly.
because
Yeah.
there are
Choose
going
your
to be
battles wisely.
there are going to be a lot of battles. This is a field
Mm-hmm.
that there will be conflict, there will be disagreement, there will be people fighting for resources a lot of times. See is it worth to spend your energy? And
Yep.
some fight, it looks like you're doing something right, but it's not worth getting into. So yeah,
Exactly.
that's
Yeah.
about it's very, very similar to what you just shared. This is something I really want to ask you, because you lead a large team, and this is kind of a challenge I've also had with clients. People who've been leading maybe like a team of 10, team of 5, a smaller team, suddenly they are in a position to take on more. And as exciting as it is also very overwhelming suddenly to be responsible for 20 people, 50 people. When you stepped into this responsibility,
Mm-hmm.
what was the first thing that you worked on and that was helpful to you to take on? this leadership role?
It's a very, very great question, and I think this may also, really be essence of lot of leaders and lot of growth. What we see in our life. Look, when I had a very, very large team, and my progression in career was basically from team of 5 to around 30ish, and then now it's actually a huge team, more than 80, 85. Of course, your direct reports are limited number of people, yeah, thankfully, but the team that is directly part of your own organization is very large. So I don't think so. At least in my case, nothing happens overnight. It's a kind of a gradual process, us evolving as a leader. But when I had a very large team actually to manage, I think I did two things very deliberately. And I think the deliberation, so be a decisive, is very important in leadership. Because it's about mindfulness. We
Yeah.
need to know the impact of our action. This is supreme important. I actually did two, and this I quite recall two things I really did. One was really connecting to leaders who I have always looked with high regard, because from them I have learned, learning from others where I find that, hey, yeah, taking advices. Say, hey, you have seen me growing as a leader. How would you see me further improving myself? So be vulnerable, really saying that, hey, I need to get your feedback where I was in my previous positions and how would I do it better. Also, keeping in mind that leadership is about serving the needs, and then we are gaining basically. And when it is a very large team, I think the whole beauty or a challenge about it is that we are speaking about people coming from a different seniority, different cultures, different mindset. So we as a leader, and this is where I put my lot of deliberation on, we need to be a playmaker. We need to walk the talk, because the large team, it is very easy to get demotivated basically. In the
Yeah.
large team, sometimes it's very easy that we pick our favorites, yeah, so we get bias. So I think these were few things which I have told myself really that, hey, Viraj, deliberation in what we do, know your people. Yeah, if me as a leader, if I don't know the strength, weakness of my team, then I cannot lead. Reach out to them and tell them that, hey, we are a team, so share yourself as a leader and know each other well. And this has helped me massive. And maybe not the last, but one of the most important things in large size team management is to have a proper communication. Because where we fail sometimes in a large scale team management is that if things get lost in translation. So this means that we need to be reaching each level of the organization in the language that they will understand. And I'm not talking of a literal language, German or French, but it's about the subtle meaning of that. So tailor your message, communicate your vision, your strategy, expectations well, and foster a culture where there is a respect. So actually managing a very large team needs definitely a bit different skill sets than having, I would say, one or two people direct management at the end. And this definitely comes with time, and it's really fun, I can tell you. I love my team, and I have never felt that it's work or something. It's just joy, because you gain so much from each other.
Yeah, that's fascinating. There is probably we should have another episode about this, because there is so much about like leading people and this communication, this clarity, the vibe you actually bring and the culture you set as for that department, actually, not the whole company. All of that really actually it's an art, I guess, art of the person who's leading that.
Yes.
But there's one thing before the end of this episode, I really want to ask you, because a lot of people who listen, they're also on this sort of performance, growth, career advancement track. They're really looking into, okay, what should I do to get promoted to a leadership role? When you look at your team, what are the qualities that you see in a person that tells you like this team member I would like to support in their advancement? Or like they are the leadership material.
Yeah, no, look, I think again, it's a very fair and a good question, yeah, at the end, because it's a kind of a pyramid when we grow in our career. So there are only limited, I would say, available. I see it this way that, look, every individual has a potential. That's really a fundamental rule. So what I said is that in the organization, especially the hierarchy is like a pyramid. There are the places going less and less as we grow. So as a leader, I think even though we will develop few leaders, few individuals to be a future leader, I think one very important thing is always keep in mind that there is a potential in everybody. Maybe that potential is suited for one or the other role. So I think always keep that a balanced view on the team. That's very important. But coming to the question that how do we pick or how do we develop those individuals, or who are those leadership materials basically, I think these are the individuals who are curious. These are the individuals who are grateful for the opportunity, for the surrounding they have. These are the ones who are really challenging without, so they have courage,
Yeah.
plus to be able to spot the organizational need, because we need to be mindful that we are looking for a person for a job and not a job for a person. So we need to upskill ourselves for a future need of the organization or any future need, right? So this means the individuals who are really picked for those accelerated development are the ones who is upskilling themselves constantly so that they will be a future leaders. Then ability to unlearn. This is for me supreme important. We always talk about I'm a quick learner. Very good. But can I leave behind what I learned before if this is not applicable here? And that is about a lot of biases, lot of judgments. So really those who are progressing are in that direction. We can never forget or underestimate the performance which is needed. And that could be in any way measurable depending on the which function you are. So really kind of performance. But what you do is important, but how you do is rather more important. So maybe those leaders or future leaders are really paying more attention on how they do. They are a team player. They take accountability. They are really taking accountability when something fails. They are not just the ones who comes when there is a success, actually. So having a deliberation, open for feedback. One can only grow if I am open to feedback. And that could be critical, very brutally honest. So ability to be vulnerable and see that, hey, how can I learn? So a lot. And to me, maybe another very important is which I look in particular in an individual here is that how you are going to be as a leader going forward. Because if this person going to develop other leaders when he or she is going to be a leader, because it's a chain, it's a cycle, we need to continue, it's a legacy. So, and to me, actually, the progress is not a ladder, right? It's about you build on your skills. So, those who has a true and a genuine interest in others' growth and see the larger purpose, not just in their own function, but the larger purpose, those are definitely the future leaders. And then if given a right ground, I would say, fostering, they will be, yeah, the miracles for tomorrow.
Yeah, that was very, very, very well put, actually. A person who could hold that level of complexity, the energy they bring, and also how they can actually hand over that legacy to others to develop
Yep.
other leaders. So there is a misunderstanding, I think. A lot of people think like the leadership role is like the gift you get when you performed well in your job. But there is this thing, actually. I think traditionally that used to be the case, that if you were really good and there
Mhm.
would be the leader of a department or something. But really today world is very complex, and someone who has the energy and the capacity to hold all of this and grow and be okay if it's, a lot of things not going according to the plan. I think that takes a level of resilience and energy and self-awareness, and of course coaching skills and all of. Yeah, so thank you very much, Viraj. That was so interesting. I still have a lot of questions I didn't ask you, but we are kind of reaching the end of the episode. Before we say goodbye to our listeners, is there anything you'd like to share? And of course, how they can contact you if someone wants to sort of talk to you.
Yeah, totally. Look, first of all, thanks, Sarah, for this opportunity. I enjoyed thoroughly, and
My
we will keep
pleasure.
on continuing this meaningful conversation. I really loved it. And to all the listeners, feel free to connect to me on LinkedIn, or you can get my connect as well from Sarah. So I am open to network. I love being with people, exchange views, exchange ideas. So feel free to connect with me.
Thank you very much. Of course, I'll put all of these links under the show notes. Everyone can easily
Sure.
find you. Thank you very much, Viraj, for being with us. And thank you very much to our listeners. And bye for now from my side.
Thank you. Thank you all. See you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Thanks for listening to The Heart of the Equation. If this episode has sparked something for you, we'd love to hear about it.
Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram to continue the conversation.
And if you know someone who is navigating their next career step, share this episode with them. It could be exactly what they need.
We see you next time as we explore more about leading with purpose, resilience, and authenticity.
Let's keep growing together.